This is roll call. The first order of business is roll call. May we please commence roll call?
Yes. Trustee Bravo. Trustee Bravo. President Kumar.
Here.
Vice President Ahmed is here. Treasurer Nilamanuri.
Here.
Chief of Staff Oman.
He is absent today.
Okay. Chair Hamad.
She is also absent.
Cool. Chair El Adawi.
Also absent.
Chair Nadala.
I'm present.
Chair Udotuk.
Absent.
Chair Zhao.
Here.
Cool. Speaker Stancheva.
Present.
And then absent. Representative Aranda Ortiz.
She is absent.
Representative Villa Gomez. Representative Villa Gomez. Representative Vilva Sigamani. Representative Vilva Sigamani. Representative Petimio.
Here.
Representative Oyefeso. Representative Oyefeso. Representative Taylor.
Present.
Representative Abdul Salam.
Present.
Representative Selvaraj.
Present.
Representative Almendaras.
Present.
Representative B.
Present.
Representative Fernandez.
Present.
Representative Huck.
Present.
Representative Miriam.
Present.
Representative Henry.
Present.
Representative Chrisman.
Present.
Representative Suresh.
Present.
Representative Khan.
Present.
Representative Mullick.
Present.
Representative Obire.
Present.
Representative Neji.
Here.
Representative Ruiz.
Here.
And I also believe that Sampriti also entered the room. Okay, thank you so much. Is there anybody whose name was not called?
Hello, sorry, I think I lost connection, but I'm here. It's Via Gomez.
Thank you, Misty. Okay, thank you. So the next order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. So please take this time to read over the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, if no corrections to the minutes, then the minutes will stand as approved. The next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. there any corrections to the agenda?
Yes. May I please move to table resolution 2020 F5403 to next week, please?
Okay, so there has been a motion to move Resolution 2020 F5403 to next week. Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of tabling the resolution until next week, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, so the resolution has been tabled until next week. Are there any other corrections to the agenda? Okay, if not, the agenda will stand as approved. The next order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment? Doesn't seem like it. So in that case, the next order of business is guest speakers, and there are no guest speakers tonight. The next order of business is ex officio reports. May we please have the report of the advisor?
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend and that they are adjusted to this fall weather because it is definitely getting cold. For sure, I know I'm getting adjusted. But in regards to our academic eligibility form, I want to first off thank those who have already completed the form. You are wonderful, you're amazing. And for those who have not completed the form or is still waiting on a response for their advisor, and you have not emailed myself or Keith yet, please note that you have until Friday to let us know what is going on. If you don't let us know by Friday, then you will be temporarily suspended from USG. So even if you have reached out to your advisor, but you have not let us know that you have done that or you have not gotten a response, please email myself or Keith and let us know. We are in about week 10 now, I want to say, and we've been asking for this form for a long time now, and I do understand it may not be your fault as you've done your part, but you definitely got to keep that communication with us to let us know what is going on. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions? So I have a question. What would happen if a person's advisor has not been responding to a student, and then when you reach out to them, they also don't respond to you? Are there any alternative ways that you could check academic standing?
Yes, we have access to check their academic records, but we wanted to put that responsibility on their advisors first. So if that is the case, then we can check from our end.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for the advisors? Okay, so if not, the report of the advisors will be filed. Next, we have the report of the student trustee. I do not believe that the student trustee is present. So the next order of business is officer reports. May we please have the report of the president?
Yeah, thank you, Daisy. And I hope everyone's doing great. Tomorrow is the election, as you all know. So I hope you all stay safe. And if you haven't voted yet, please do go out and vote. But yeah, so as always, I divided my report into different sections. And so specifically on the racial equity front, I was able to finish up meetings with different professors. I met with Professor Jane Rhodes with the Black Studies program, Professor Jennifer Breer from the General Women's Studies program, Professor Ralph Centrone from the LALS program, and Representative Taylor to complete our ethnic studies resolution. So now we are good to go. We might still need to make some modifications as we kind of move forward and we meet with the registrar and other sorts of people who are involved more on the administrative side. But as far as I'm concerned, we're pretty much ready with this. I also presented at the Filipino American History Month event with an organization called Anak Bayan UIC, specifically talking about our work in ethnic studies and other organizing work. And they're also looking forward to creating some campaigns around specific academic policies. And then we had our second meeting of the Public Safety Board, where we planned and selected members of the 4 subcommittees. We spent a lot of time discussing the different subcommittees. So again, just as a refresher for everyone, the Public Safety Board is essentially a board comprised of both student governance leaders, as well as administrators and community members, who are really going to critically examine the role of policing in our community and ways in which we can improve this. both specifically around like the Black Lives Matter and like the police divestment movement, and also of course ensuring that there's like adequate public safety resources for all students on campus. And so we planned and we talked about the 4 committees. And so Jocelyn, our student trustee, is joining a committee on governance. So specifically like looking at ways in which we can implement the policies that we're putting forward in the policing structure that we have at UIC currently, and ways in which we can kind of transform that. And I'm likely going to be moving on the communication, where we're going to really like focus on the ways in which like communication around safety incidents is accomplished, and like use of force policies and things like that. And we also spent a lot of time discussing the student town hall that we organized a couple of weeks ago, and talked about culture, police divestment, and investment in alternatives to policing, and why this like is important and why this matters. Just to again kind of reiterate and reaffirm that kind of commitment that we do have to changing the way this is done. And then I also presented a resolution for grading policy change to the UIC Faculty Union, and we had like a lengthy debate, and then they announced that they provide us with a letter of support for this, and just in general for like academic policy changes at UIC. And so then like the provost also did send out this like mass mail to the entire campus, and so I drafted this like email campaign template. And if anybody here, like if you're like willing or interested to like send emails to administrators, like please do have your voice heard. I'm going to send that email campaign template out to the USG Assembly a little bit later. And then we also like submitted our proposal for Universal Pass to the Senate Executive Committee, the deans and provost poser as well. They voted against this proposal. And so I spent some time speaking with some student senators to talk about some next steps. And really like our next plan is to send something in that is a little bit more moderate relative to what we already have. And the important thing, of course, is that as a result of our resolution, like they have committed themselves to actively seeking out creative solutions to what we see as extreme hardships that students are facing. So definitely indicates that something that they didn't have previously, which is the will to make change. And now we just kind of strike while we still have this opportunity. And so then we also planned for a campus-wide community dialogue for the entire UIC student body. It's essentially going to be with the chancellor, the provost, as well as Vice Chancellor Tolliver and Vice Chancellor Coronado. And the plan is for this to be an open forum for students to share concerns on really any topic of their choosing, whether it be academic policy changes or tuition refunds, or talking about the police divestment movement, talking about racial equity at UIC, really whatever question you might have, that's the space to ask it and talk about it and share it with the higher administration of the university. And we've planned that for 2 weeks from today. And then we've also planned for a meeting between the 5 other student governing councils and the chancellor to again talk about COVID-19 safety and student concerns. So if any of you have anything specific that you'd like me to bring up, please do mention that in the time for questions, or feel free to reach out to me outside of this USG meeting. And then, yeah, and so then we also like have been part of this like committee to talk about like post-election planning to really kind of help students who would like spaces for dialogue or would like spaces for like discussion and wellness in general. And so there's an email that went out to the entire campus, and there's like a whole website around it that we put together that has a ton of resources, as well as like events and stuff, some of which are USG events, some of which are planned by the Cultural Center, and so on and so forth. And then last 2 things that I got, one is, so there is this like bias reporting transformative justice board. They're looking for another member. So essentially, if there are bias incidences on campus, the next move is for them to talk about really like ways in which we can approach this issue and approach the individuals involved through a transformative justice lens. And so they offered for me to nominate somebody. So if someone on this body is particularly interested in being involved in this, I'm happy to send your name along. Dean Ellis is also part of this board, among other individuals. And then one of the things that we had advocated for was for the return of the laptop loaner program from ACCC and other just kind of ways in which students can access hotspots and technology solutions. And they have announced that they've renewed this, and they're going to start on Monday. So with that, I would like to file my report and open up the floor for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Can you talk a little bit?
You got muted.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk a little bit more about the bias reporting transformative justice board?
Yes. So Vice Provost Amalia Payares has this kind of like Office of Diversity and Equity that they have, where they have essentially put together this reporting tool where students can anonymously, if they so choose, report incidences of bias that have occurred both on campus and around campus, specifically like in academic settings. And essentially, like through this reporting tool, this board will look at the specific incidences and figure out ways in which these might be approached in kind of like a more like transformative justice manner. So like if, for example, like you've experienced something like this in a classroom setting, for example, this board might then look towards like the professor or whoever kind of was involved in that situation to see if they might be able to either like have conversations with them, introduce like workshops or other sorts of like programs and things like that that they might be able to involve in.
Okay. Follow up. Do students have to have any type of like prerequisites or requirements to join?
No, not at all. No prerequisites or anything. Just just interest and, of course, if you feel strongly about this topic.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question. So, like last week, we had voted about the universal pass resolution. I don't know if I'm the only person who's noticing this, but I feel like like whatever resolutions we've been passing, like it's been getting turned down by a lot. But I understand that they have their reasons. But in terms of like the next steps, like what solid things do they need exactly? Like, for example, do they need like student interviews or like an actual student session or like a faculty student session that can help them understand more about like what is it that they're going through? Because I mean, we're trying to advocate for our students, but when it comes to like this pandemic that we're going through right now, I just feel like whatever we're trying to advocate for our students is getting shut down. So what like I would want to provide more for the next steps, but it's like what is it that they need exactly? Do you know?
That's a really good question and a really important question. And honestly, I echo all of that. I definitely feel like the same amount of like anger and like the fact that a lot of these things are rebuffed, even though we do have a lot behind it. Like we have like evidence and we provide testimonials and we really like pull out all the works to put these things together. Importantly, I think to answer your first point, right? What more would they want to see? So I was talking to my friend on the Senate Executive Committee, and he was telling me about how it really seemed like the provost had essentially painted herself into this corner that she wasn't willing to back out of. So regardless of what more we had put forward, there would be no way out of it. Like there would be no kind of reversal. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that there still is room for change, room for improvement. So I would personally say, like, yes, student testimonials are amazing. Student activism through email campaigns, reaching out and really just kind of, again, like making your voice heard through those spaces, I think is actually really effective and really important. For example, like Provost Bozer wouldn't have even sent out a campus-wide email if she hadn't received so many emails from students asking her why she wasn't going forward on something like this. So I definitely think that that's effective. And again, like we're organizing this email campaign to just keep going and show that even though that this is a decision that was made really without our input, we are still more than ready to fight for it. The other important thing, right, is that like recognizing that like the things that we do pass like are non-binding, but they are seriously considered and they are like actually like looked at in the sense that there's action taken on them. So for example, with the respondents resolution, like there is like now there are like recommendations for how faculty might go about changing the way that they do exams. And it also kind of like leads to a further conversation of how assessments should be done in general on campus during a pandemic, if anything, and also in normal times, just thinking about how assessments might be a representation of just kind of regurgitating facts when they should be really a way to test concepts and understanding concepts. So things like that, like I do see changing as a result of these resolutions. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like I think that there should be more done and further done. And part of that is us just, again, continuing to organize and continuing to put pressure. And to answer Daisy's question,
Right.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, to answer Daisy's question, to answer Daisy's question on a referendum, like I love the idea and I love like the intentionality behind a referendum. One of the big problems with the referendum is just timing. Like the fact that referendums always pop up during the student elections, which is way too late for anything that we want to have happen. That being said, referendums have worked on other campuses. Like at Northwestern, for example, they recently did this credit, no credit. That was partly as a result of a referendum that they had. The other thing though is that referendums might get several hundred votes, but these petition signatures get several thousands of signatures, which I think is important to recognize that despite us having already passed these roadblocks, there are always still just going to be more.
Thank you.
I had one follow-up question. So have you talked to the provost about next semester since everything else is going to be online as well? Have you discussed anything on it?
I have not. I personally, I still think that we have time to change things this semester. And like I said, right, like the Academic Senate is also like very interested in looking to ameliorate some of the hardships that students are facing and creative solutions again. So we're looking to get back to the drawing board and send something in by the end of this week. Something again that might be a little bit more amenable to what they have in mind. So hopefully that'll be talked about at next Thursday's meeting, and hopefully they'll have something that's more in favor of what we believe is important for this campus. That being said, I definitely think it's worth to have Provost Buzzer return at least one time before the end of the semester, so we can talk a little bit about next semester and some of our vision for that. We're also having this town hall again, right, which is going to be a huge opportunity for all students across campus to share their vision, talk about their concerns and what they want to see. So I think both of these spaces are very important for that. And public spaces, in my opinion, are always the way to go, rather than kind of like closed door, little more like surreptitious arbitration. Sorry, I was like, I just used random words there. That doesn't mean anything.
Thank you.
So I actually have one more comment about the credit, no credit. I saw in the UIC Facebook group, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw a student say that the credit, no credit option was offered in the beginning of the semester, like the first few weeks, but not a lot of students knew about it. And now that we are pushing for that, the administration is saying that they already offered it, but they offered it way in the beginning, and some student rebuttals are that we can't know how well or how bad we're going to do in the class that early on. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. So maybe I think they're going to offer that next semester as well.
Yeah, that's super important, and I love that as well. Specifically, one thing to talk about with regards to that is, so like the new proposal that we're putting together. So yeah, again, like what you mentioned is just a very standard university policy that's been in existence for decades, about credit, no credit, right? Students have like the first like 2 weeks or some like super short period of time to opt in for credit, no credit, and are only allowed for a very, very small number of courses to use that for. So we're essentially asking for that to be extended until finals week, basically, so December 7th. As well as the withdrawal date to be extended until December 7th, and the number of courses that this is applicable to be expanded beyond what it normally is. So beyond what it's been in previous years, but a little bit less than what it's been in spring is essentially kind of what we're trying to wiggle for.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, then the president's report will be filed. Next, we have the report of the vice president.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So for my Mental Health Coalition updates, we had our weekly meeting as per usual. And then we're putting the student survey into Qualtrics and getting that checked by both like the survey team through CUPPA and by an advisor. Joey Volpe is going to send the faculty survey to Dean Linda Diana and Joseph Hermes. Joseph Hermes is the head of the counseling center, for those of you that aren't familiar with that name. And then also just to reiterate, that survey that's going to the faculty is meant to be about collecting information both for what faculty is working on in terms of student mental health well-being initiatives, also where those faculty tend to send any students that come to them with similar concerns, just so we have an idea of what resources are being used and which ones should be more advertised, etc. And then this week last week I began kind of a look into campus care resources and better figuring out what telehealth resources are available for students, just because I looked on the website and I couldn't necessarily figure that out. And I feel like that's something that should be shown without too much kind of like digging into it. So perhaps after we get the answers to that, we can kind of make some kind of infographic or incorporate it on our website or somewhere in iAdvise so that that's easily accessible. And then finally, for the Mental Health Coalition, we're compiling resources on campus and meeting with them to understand what exactly they have to offer. So what types of student concerns they're willing to address, whether they're paid resources, unpaid resources, whether they're covered through campus care, etc. So thank you to everyone that kind of shared some of those resources that they use with me. That was helpful. And then in other projects, I wrote the letter of support on behalf of USG for an initiative that was run by the library for open educational resource initiatives. That's essentially a way to lower the cost for students in accessing textbooks. It's like an open source platform of sorts that would be offered through our library. And then, yeah, the other stuff is things that I've touched on in previous weeks. But the other update is also meeting with Code Red at UIC, which was previously Period at UIC, in regards to menstrual health, like products and vending machines that'll be on campus. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, then the report of the Vice President will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Treasurer.
Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good day. So a short report today. So I met with both advisors and our president was on to discuss external org funding and how that's going to look like in the upcoming months. And then I've been working with Daisy and Matthew to ensure that the USG social purchases are going smoothly. And Treasury Committee is going to be holding our meetings on Thursday at 6 p.m. So anyone that has like funding questions or like potential organization funding or just wants to talk about like how this money can be spent and like what your options are and what things you can or can't fund, or if you have questions and if I can't answer, I'll reach out to our advisors and other people and confirm that it's all good. So if you have any questions, you can email me or ask me right now.
Okay, so are there any questions? Okay, if no questions, the report of the treasurer will be filed. Next, we have the report of the speaker. So my report is kind of short today, but I did want to tell you guys that I reached out to the ACCC, which I think they're called something different now. But that's basically the technology department of UIC. And I asked about the 4 members that don't have access to Box still. So in my experience, ACCC doesn't really reply to emails. They just kind of get to work. So I'll keep checking the USG Box account, and I'll be looking for if there are any changes on it. So I finished up my meetings with representatives. I only have one more meeting, and that'll be it. After this meeting, I will send you guys a survey to ask about your experience at USG. And I know it's going to seem long, but you're not required to write anything. It's just going to be rate from 1 to 10. You have the option to write stuff if you want to, but you're not required to. And it's just for us to see how we're doing and where we can improve. And it is anonymous, so feel free to say whatever you want. Just please be nice, obviously, but you can say what's in your mind. And Matthew and I are working on the USG Social. If you have not yet filled out the USG Social availability form, It's in the chat. So make sure you fill it out, please, because we will be shipping packages to everybody who filled out the form. So it's going to be like a nice little care package type of deal. So if you're struggling with finals and or like midterms and would like some snacks, fill it out. Everybody who fills it out, even if you live abroad, even if you live in a foreign country, we will ship it out to you, okay? It might take a while to get to you, but we'll ship it out. So please make sure to fill out the form that I just put in the chat. And Matthew and I will be meeting on Wednesday to be putting together the boxes. So as long as you fill it out by then we'll try our best to send you a box. What else? But yeah, I mean, we are working on the agenda and activities right now. So far, I'm going to share with you one of the things we're going to be doing, and that is Among Us. I know everybody wanted to do that. So yeah, we'll be doing that. That's going to be super fun. Let's see what else. Um, Okay, so we will be presenting later today a resolution for funds reimbursement. So we bought some items and we would like to be reimbursed for them. And lastly, in previous years, we used to have a holiday party at the end of the semester. So please think about these questions. Should we have a virtual party this year? And should we do White Elephant or Secret Santa? And we're gonna talk more about this during items for discussion, but please think about this. And I'd love to hear your opinions after. And then I would also like to yield some of my time to Matthew to tell you about when the social is and to tell you more about the social. Before we do that, there's a question: what is a white elephant? So that's basically a game where, oh god, it's kind of hard to explain. Um, but it's a holiday game where you're given a number from one to however many people there are, and then the people with the, oh god, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that virtually. Um, in the past, we used to do it in person, but everybody needs to be present. So it's, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at explaining. Does anybody know what white elephant is and can explain?
Maybe. So everyone gets a number. Everyone puts. So everyone does white elephant differently is the problem. So the way I understand it is everyone puts like gifts in the middle, and then you get a number, and you take a gift from the middle when your number is called, and then sometimes this one I think is more fun, but you can steal from other people. But if you steal from someone else, then another person can steal from you, if that makes sense. So.
Thank you for explaining. That's what I was trying to say. It's just so hard to explain it. But yeah, that's what white elephant is. I don't think we can do it online, unfortunately. But we could do Secret Santa. But before I yield my time to Matthew, do you guys have any questions for me? Okay, Matthew, take it away.
Hello guys, I hope you guys are all doing well. So yeah, the USC social is going to be a lot of fun. So far, I think it will be on Tuesday, November 10th from 7 to 9 p.m. So that's what, it might change if we get more responses to the form and a different time is better. But mark your calendars. It will most definitely might be on Tuesday, November 10th from 7 to 9 p.m. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so are there any questions for both Matthew and myself? All right, so if not, the speaker's report will be filed. Next, we have, let me see. the report of the Chief of Staff. Is anybody reading Tim's report? Okay, so next we have the report of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Chair, and Bayan is not present today, and she mentioned that she does not have a report today. So next we have the report of the Legislative Affairs Committee Chair, Dahlia. So Dahlia is not present tonight, but who is reading Dahlia's report?
Yeah, I'm reading Dahlia's reports for her. But okay, so we just recently had Party to the Polls. According to Dahlia, that went really well. They all had fun. It was good. And then something else that we did was just we met with our committee. What we ended up doing was that the event that I'm doing, which is the ROTC event, Sounds Fights Sexual Misconduct, a date was finally settled, which is 19th of November. Currently, we're trying to figure out if it's going to be in person or online. According to the person who's going to give the presentation, she is okay with being in person, but now since everything is changing because of COVID, we might have to figure something out. So I still have to talk with everyone in ROTC. A survey was already made, and I'm going to share that with Dahlia, and then I have to reach out to Aitana actually to make the flyer. So we'll probably do that today, Aitana. And then Matthew will be meeting with CSI to discuss the distribution of funds. And then he will also be making a survey questions to see the type of event that he's trying to do. And then it's going to focus on rather than creating a new initiative, we're talking about the app that he was trying to make. And then Michael is just going to start reaching out to other orgs about the initiative that he wanted to do. And yeah, and then start working on other initiatives in the meantime.
Thank you, Misty. So if you guys have any questions, then feel free to email Dahlia, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to answer your questions. So with that, the report of the chairwoman of the Legislative Affairs Committee has been filed. Next, we have the report of the Public Relations Committee Chair.
Hi, good morning. Good night. Good evening, everybody. Okay. First off, I had a meeting with Tim on Tuesday to discuss about the feedback on Monday, and we got some strategies going for PRC. So I'm pretty glad with that. Number two, I got a meeting with Michelle to discuss about our next move with purchasing the COVID-related supplies. So I reached out to Administrative Services to set up an appointment to talk about this, and I'm just waiting for a response at the moment. Number three, my committee and I had a meeting today, and we talked about more ways to be engaging in our social medias. So we talked about weekly surveys, and the plan is to ask how everybody's feeling with the election. So that's this week. The next week we're going to plan on Monday, and then we like the themed outfits. That's why we asked you guys to dress in plaid if you can. So thank you to those who are dressing in plaid. We'll take a group picture at the end, and I'm really excited about it. And number four, I'm just continuing with the projects mentioned last week, like Title IX, Dahlia with voting. And you might be wondering, what happened to the apparel form, right? Well, right now that's not really a priority for me because I want to finish the COVID-related supplies purchase first before purchasing the apparel stuff. So yeah, that's about it for me. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then the report of the chairwoman of the Public Relations Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Student Affairs Committee Chair. So Marion is not present today, but is anybody reading Marion's report?
I am.
Okay, go for it.
So we had our weekly committee meeting on Friday. We touched bases on each representative's initiatives and focus of the week. We spoke on voting, methods of voting, etc. We created a group meet to have a more clear flow of communication. Marion worked with Dahlia to have State Rep Lakeisha Collins of the 9th District speak at the voter event on Friday. And according to her, it was very successful, and she wants to thank Dahlia and Taylor for SAC for putting together a great and informative event. She's also working with Lakeisha Collins' political team to help their campaign to stop the closing of 3 schools in North Lawndale. Closing these schools will lead to student displacement, loss of jobs, and loss of food sources. She has attached a link for petition so that we can sign, and she recommends that we take a look at it. I don't know how to put that in the chat, but I will try to. She's working with the Young Invisibles, which is an organization that works to better different aspects of young people's lives, such as healthcare, higher education, and more. And they're partnered with Streetlight Chicago to connect with the homeless youth with critical services. It's an app and a website, so please check it out if you can. Tomorrow is the election. If you haven't voted and are able to, please do so. Also remember to prioritize your mental health and safety this week, as it is prone to be a very tense and stressful one. Marion has also yielded some of her time to me to talk about Growing Green for UIC and Giving Tuesday. So Growing Green is an upcoming fundraising platform where everyone can see and learn about and donate to the various sustainability projects on campus. The website includes over 100 different funds from student support, which supports sustainability interns and campus project funds, like the LEED Gold buildings and the maintenance of the geothermal structure and general conservation funds. It's a great stepping stone platform for anyone who wants to get involved in sustainable practices at UIC, to learn about and give to whatever causes they would like to. The launch date of the website is November 20th, and the Office of Sustainability is aiming to raise money on Giving Tuesday, which is on December 1st, but donors would be able to donate between November 20th and December 4th. This is obviously very important because the impact of climate change on our environment is very evident, and just think about what's been going on the West Coast, the fires that happened not too long ago. And you can learn more about this on the Office of Sustainability's website, and I will put the link there too. But for anyone who's interested, the office offers a spring internship program, US 390, and successful completion will guarantee you a paid summer intern spot for the Office of Sustainability. And you can check our social media to stay up to date with the donations and Giving Tuesday. And for any USG member who donate, I will be matching your donations. So if you give 10, I'll give 10. If you give 100, I'll give 100, and I can match up to, I think, $500. So just go ahead, give as much as you can. We also have a donor who's going to match donations up to $1,000, and we're aiming to raise about $2,000 in that 2-week window. So if you could spread the word to your friends, your family, any organizations that would be interested, that would be great. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to me, and I will put my email in the chat. Let me put the link for the Office of Sustainability, and there's my email. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tega. So as you guys probably see my poor attempts at putting the link in the chat. I think the second link worked. Let me know if not, and I can try to post it again. But Tega, I had a question for you. So where did you say how can we donate? Is that a website, or how do we do that?
Yes, it's a website. So the link is going to go active on November 20th. And when the link does go active, I will share it with the USG board. And I'll also share the Growing Green website, which gets launched November 20th also.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email Marion or send a message. And I'm sure she'd be happy to respond as well. So with that, the report of the chairwoman of the Student Affairs Committee has been filed. Next, we have the report of the Campus Life Committee Chair.
Hi, everyone. I hope you had a great week. So for this week, I met with Aitana to discuss the packages and the contents. So she informed me that for the COVID supplies, like ordering masks and hand sanitizers, there are actually extra regulations. So like she said, we did set up a meeting, and hopefully we'll get those ordered soon. And if there's going to be like a significant delay, we'll look into ordering the non-COVID supplies first. So that's for the care packages. For committee initiatives, we talked about drafting up an honor code for UIC, like the provost said. So Quinn did some research, and UIC Pharmacy actually already has an honor code. So we were thinking of using that as an example. And if anyone's interested in like helping us or like has any suggestions, you can just like contact me. and we can work on it together. Another event that we're working on is a Thanksgiving event in November for students who can't go home for the holidays, so like international students, etc. So that's going to be virtual, and that's in the works. For the How to Ask for Help workshop, I've been drafting seminar questions and activities for students, and we're going to work on getting that out for late November / early December. So that's in the works. And for the student survey, I'm looking for examples from other schools, and I'm starting to write the questions, ideas for questions. And hopefully we'll be working with Aitana and Hana on that soon. And that's it. I yield for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Just a super quick question. Do you think it would be helpful to get like an advisor or some other sort of like mid-level administrative support on the honor code part?
Yeah, definitely, because we definitely didn't want to just like copy their example for the honor code, so it'd be great to have someone who kind of knew like what the like qualifications were for like something being an honor code. So if we could work with someone on that, we'll look into it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, like, I was actually just gonna ask like our own advisors if they might be willing to help out in any way with something like that.
Can you repeat the question again?
We were just wondering like if we might be able to like leverage some of like both of your experiences like on DOS and like writing these sorts of like policies to help specifically like with any sort of questions that they might have like regarding this honor code.
Yes, definitely. Keith said he's happy to help too.
Nice.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, the report of the chairwoman of the Campus Life Committee will be filed. The next order of business is old business. And first we have Resolution 2020-F06-1104. So Wasan, would you like to present this?
Yes, just really quickly, and again, apologies for doing this again, but I would just like to motion to read the amended version of this resolution, if possible.
Okay, so there has been a motion to read the amended version of this resolution. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, so we can read the amended version. And Wasan, have you by any chance sent this to me?
Apologies, I have not sent this to you just yet,
Okay.
but I can switch my screen share to share this one.
Okay.
And it should be screen sharing now. Perfect. So this is Resolution 2020-F06-1104, a critical ethnic and gender studies general education requirement. And the two sponsors are myself and Representative Kayla Taylor. And it reads, whereas the University of Illinois Chicago serves one of the most diverse student populations in the country. At this institution, as with society at large, racial prejudice and bigotry exist in a very real manner, despite best efforts to dismantle them. Oh, yeah, sorry, I can zoom. Programs and initiatives, such as the Office of Diversity, Centers for Cultural Understanding and Social Change, and Ethnic Studies departments were developed to curate cultural awareness in efforts to combat prejudice within the student body. The success of these programs in building community and driving conscious education indicate their necessity for a healthy campus. Students, faculty, administrators, and society as a whole stand to gain by providing students with a well-rounded education that prepares us to be civic leaders with courses grounded in anti-racist, anti-xenophobic, and anti-bigotry teachings. This proposal aims to be one step on the path to a world without racial inequalities, a world with respect for everyone. Ethnic studies is described as the study of the social, political, economic, and historical perspectives of America's diverse racial and ethnic groups. And whereas the demands of Black students at UIC released this summer in response to police brutality against Black people and anti-Black racism call for UIC to 3. require mandatory general education courses on structural racism and dismantling whiteness for all students. The proposal listed here for an ethnic studies general education requirement would fulfill this critical need. We, the associated students of UIC, deserve to learn about the histories of our ancestors in this country. And whereas UIC's undergraduate population is 34% Latinx, 20% Asian American, 8% African American, 7% international, and 5% other. A study conducted by Stanford University found that ethnic studies requirements adopted at the high school level lead to an increase in GPA by 1.4 points, an increase in attendance by 21%, and an increase in credits earned by 23 credits. This study also found the largest gain in Hispanic students, UIC's largest student demographic. A Cal State study showed that students who completed one ethnic studies course graduated at a rate over 20% higher than students who completed none. This is largely attributed to the amount of advising and supplemental education ethnic studies faculty members take on, which can be seen at UIC in the form of LARAs, AAAN, NASP, and ACE. There is currently no dedicated academic support unit for Asian/Asian American and Arab/Arab American students, forcing cultural centers like the ARC and Arab AMC and faculty in units like GLASS to shoulder this burden. And whereas the struggle for ethnic studies has a decades-long history of organizing and protest. In 1968, San Francisco and Berkeley college students began to demand an ethnic studies program at their university in response to geopolitical events and the termination of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, Person of Color faculty, among other reasons. Students formed a massive coalition titled the Third World Liberation Front, composed of Black, Latin American, Filipino, Mexican American, Chinese, Native American, and Asian American student associations. There was enormous support from the community for this movement. However, their organizing efforts met with fierce opposition from administrators. This led to the longest student strike in US history and one of the most expensive in UC Berkeley history. The struggle for ethnic studies at UIC has a similar history. Latin American Latin Studies, LALS, was founded from student organizing that demanded a curriculum reflective of its neighboring Latinx community. It took 19 years of student activism to launch the Global Asian Studies GLASS program at UIC. In 1990, Black, Latinx, and Palestinian students led a peaceful overnight sit-in to call for a mandatory course on cultural diversity, a Middle Eastern Studies program, and an Afro-American Cultural Center in response to racially motivated hate incidents. Yet to this day, these programs remain underfunded and face uncertainty. And whereas UIC is a minority-serving institution and duly designated as both an ANAPISI since 2010, with funding from the Department of Education totaling $5.6 million. The campus is also a Hispanic-serving institution since 2016 with funding of $5.3 million. Diversity is a major selling point to increase enrollment, but a critical aspect to that diversity is creating a safe and culturally aware university environment. Students deserve a diverse faculty body who represent our diverse student population, and faculty deserve an environment of cultural and social consciousness where they can flourish. And whereas this presents an extraordinary opportunity for UIC to improve its work on the recruitment, retention, and success of Black students, faculty, and staff. By allowing students to confront these difficult topics, UIC promotes a culture of compassionate introspection by educating the student body with deeper understanding of the histories of this country, ensuring students graduate with heightened awareness, understanding, and concern for the state of the world that will soon be in their hands. Over the past few years, hate crimes have also risen in college campuses. Students across all disciplines deserve this form of education as similar calls for cultural competency in law, medicine, and STEM disciplines arise at this campus and across the country. And whereas the California State University CSU system, the largest university system in the country, implemented an ethnic studies requirement this summer. It is important to note CSU trustees voted to implement a broad ethnic studies requirement in direct contention with the calls of student organizers who asked for a more specific and intentional requirement. This resulted in Bill AB 1460, proposed and passed in the California State Legislature to implement the will of the people. This is not the same as the trustees' proposal, and when Governor Newsom signs this law in November, AB 1460 will supersede the trustees' decision. Let this document serve as a proposal and list of courses with room for the 5 campus units listed below to add specific courses, rather than courses as determined by the campus administration or the Board of Trustees. In Illinois, similar efforts are underway at the high school level through the Illinois General Assembly with SB 1268 to study Asian American history. Since the passage of HB 2859 in 1991, Illinois high schoolers have been required to learn Black history and are now required to learn LGBTQ history with HB 246 signed into law. There is a statewide push for this type of inclusive and reflective curriculum. This proposal would make UIC a leader in higher education. Then, let it be resolved that the USG calls for the creation of a new ethnic studies general education requirement, where all students from the class of 2025 onward enrolled at UIC must complete 3 credit hours in a course of their choosing from a list of predetermined courses. This list of courses can be found below. Appendix B enumerates acronyms referenced here. And we now have our expanded and completed list of courses, including these courses from the Black Studies program, these courses from the Global Asian Studies program, these courses from the Gender and Women's Studies program, and these courses from the Latin American and Latino Studies, and this from the Native American Studies program. And that's it. I yield the floor for questions. Sorry that was so long and so much reading.
Okay, thank you, Wasan. So just one note, because I don't have the this version of the document, if there are any amendments made, you would have to be the one to write them down and then send me the new resolution. But So this is a resolution that we will be voting on tonight. So are there any questions or comments or any amendments regarding this resolution? Okay, so if there is nothing that you guys wanted to say about it, then we can move on to voting. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2020-F06-1104, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, so this resolution has passed. Next, we have Resolution 2020-F07-1105. So Wasan, feel free to present this one as well.
That's the wrong one. Yeah, so resolution 2020-F07-1105 is in support of racial equity at UIC. And it reads, whereas the Good Trouble Coalition, comprised of the Black Graduate Student Association, Graduate Employees Organization, UIC United Faculty, and UIC Undergraduate Student Government, drafted an open letter to UIC administration in response to the Chancellor's proposed steps towards racial equity at UIC. Appendix A lists some of their questions, and Appendix B includes a scorecard representing the UIC's higher administration's response to student demands. The letter demands the following. 1, to address all of these questions through a public format that engages students, faculty, and staff. 2, provide a written follow-up on the above questions and concerns. And 3, publish an outline of how your initial changes will be implemented to promote transparency. Here's a link to the document. And let it be resolved that USG supports the call of these activists in pushing for change towards a more racially equitable UIC campus and signs on to their letter. Some of the questions that they include are like talking about counselors and how the new hired counselors will be like culturally responsive, talking about how students and the community at large will be included in the bridge to faculty process, how sort of like increasing administrative spending might actually be a hindrance in this area. Talking again about like the like policing at UIC and how that will be resolved and things will be move forward in that light. And then, of course, talking about transparency and calling for more transparency. And that's the whole thing, basically. I open the floor to any questions.
Okay, so this is a resolution that, again, we'll be voting on tonight. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or amendments, please let us know. Okay, so if not, then we can move on to voting. All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2020-F07-1105, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, so then this resolution has passed. The next order of business is new business. And first we have Resolution 2020-F8-904. And this is a resolution that I wrote, so let me pull it up and read it. Okay, USG social reimbursement request. Chief sponsor, Speaker of the House, Daisy Sancheva. Co-sponsor, Interim Speaker, Matthew Almendras. Whereas the speaker and interim speaker are working on the USG social, and whereas due to the current pandemic, USG is unable to hold in-person events like in previous years, and whereas in the past USG has spent hundreds of dollars for each USG social for room, food, and other costs, then let it be resolved that this semester USG shall utilize some of its funds towards buying and shipping packages to USG members as a socially distanced version of the USG social, and let it be further resolved that in order to prevent delays in shipping, the speaker and interim speaker shall buy the needed items and be reimbursed for the costs. And let it be further resolved that Speaker Daisy Sancheva shall be reimbursed the shipping costs of $200, and Interim Speaker Matthew Mendres shall be reimbursed the purchasing costs of $100. So there's a few things to unpack here, and let me get to it. So as I mentioned here in the past, for the USG Social, we would always have like an in-person event, and we would pay normally between 300 and 600 for the food, and that's just the food only. And then we would just do stuff in person. Um, so it is not completely, it's not like super outrageous that we're asking to spend $300 here. Um, but so basically, what ended up happening is instead of doing a resolution to ask for the Dean of Students office, the DOS, to buy the items for us, which would take probably like weeks, probably 3 or 4 weeks, we decided to buy the items so that we can ship them as early as next week, and we're asking to be reimbursed for that money. And the other thing is that the prices that you see on here are actually not correct. And the reason why I way overestimated them. The reason why is because I would rather that I tell you a higher price and then it ends up being lower rather than the other way around. So the shipping costs, I think it would actually take maybe $130 to 150 ish. Um, and for the purchasing costs for Matthew, that'll be probably around $60 or $70. So on the resolution, we overestimated, just so that we don't have any surprises where we ask you for $50 and it ends up being 100. Um, so yeah, this is essentially what we're asking for in this resolution, and the numbers, I will change them next week. Quinn?
Oh, okay. If you're going to change them, then never mind. But I was just going to say I would like to amend it and put up to $200 and up to $100. But that's fine then. Never mind.
Yes, yeah, I do believe that the numbers have to be specific in order for us to be reimbursed. So I just put these numbers for us to have numbers, and then next week I'm going to amend it so that it says the actual money that we spent.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay, so I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any comments or questions about any of this?
I just have one super good question. Does this also like include potentially like shipping internationally in terms of any sorts
Yes.
of gifts? I think
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we have the we already know the people who have already submitted their form, and it looks like most people are in Chicago, and half the people are in Chicago, the rest of the people are in the rest of Illinois. So shipping is not going to be ridiculously expensive. We're expecting it to be maybe between $5 and $8 per box. And if we were to send internationally, it would cost probably $15 to $20 per box. I think it would still be accounted for. But depending on how many people fill out the form, it could potentially go overboard. I'm hoping not. That's why I put this number on there. I think that's way overestimated. But if everybody fills out the form, which I didn't really account for, I accounted for people who had already submitted it. But if everybody submits it, it might go a little overboard. And that's okay because we have the funds for that. Are there any other questions or comments? Does Matthew want to say anything? Does Ansha want to say anything?
Everything looks good to me, Daisy.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so we'll be voting on this next week. As I mentioned, Matthew and I are meeting on Wednesday, and that's when we're going to have all the materials, and that's when we will be shipping out the boxes, probably on Thursday. So, by next week, we should know the exact cost. So, yeah. In that case, we can move on to the next order of business, which is items for discussion. First, we have the USG social. So Matthew, would you like to say anything about the social?
Yes, just to reiterate, the social will be next Tuesday on November 10th. If anyone wants to write that down, it will be from 7 to 9 p.m. And yeah, it's we have a lot of fun activities planned, and the goodies should hopefully um be good for everyone. But that's all I have to say for the social.
Does anybody have any suggestions for the USG social? Any things we could do beside Among Us, because we have already decided on that. You guys are pretty quiet tonight. That's okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So the next item for discussion is end of the year party. Um, Matthew, would you like to answer the question in chat?
Yeah, we can definitely do a clothing theme. We're gonna send like an official email about the social. And if there is like a clothing theme to it, it will be included in the email.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next item for discussion is the end of the year party. So in the past, we have done end of the year parties in like late November, early December, and that's when we normally do White Elephant. So I don't think it would be possible for us to do White Elephant virtually because everybody needs to be present for that, and we don't want to break social distancing guidelines. So what we could do is Secret Santa, but the other thing is we don't have to do anything at all. It's all up to you. If you don't want to do anything, then we don't have to do anything. But if you would like, we can look into maybe shipping you delivery this time instead of a box. Maybe it could be like actual like warm type of food, like made like an hour prior or something like that. Um, what do you guys think? Any suggestions, comments, anything?
Yeah, I like the idea of like shipping food. If um, I'm like wondering if like, and probably like DOS could help us, like our advisors will probably like be able to clarify this a little better. Is there ways we might be able to just give people like credits to like purchase like whatever food they'd want to just make things a little easier in terms of like logistically like getting food to people, or otherwise we can also just deliver food to everyone.
Sorry, I would think the sending food is probably going to be more acceptable than giving out money. Otherwise,
fair.
The only way I think it would work is if people bought their own food and then submitted receipts for reimbursement.
That could be a little hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. I think sending food to everyone is totally fine. I'd love that. I always like miss like getting food from places, so I would love to do that at this event. One thing that I really want to do is like some sort of like competition, and I put this in my suggestion as well. Like some sort of competition like between members. We could like play a game of some sort. I know Chairwoman Adaitok had mentioned a while back how she wanted to like make these like puzzles for people to solve, like different like policy problems that like we'd like get into groups and we'd like talk about, and then maybe like our advisors could like vote on like the best ones or something like that, and the winners get some sort of prize. I don't know. I always just like love like competitions, stuff like the kind of fun sort that are like relevant to like our theme.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's a really good point. That would be really fun to do. So yeah, so if you guys would like to, we can do this event virtually, and do some more, getting to know one another and some team building and stuff. Um, and if you want, we could pick like a place, like a restaurant or something, and then everybody picks a food that they would like delivered, and you get it delivered. Does that sound good to people? Okay. um And how about doing Secret Santa? Would anyone be interested in doing Secret Santa?
I would be very interested in doing Secret Santa. I've done this. This is a bit of a long story, but long story short, at my previous institution, we did Secret Santa, but I think it was more. Is it called Yahtzee? Yankee? I don't know what's it called. Something Santa where like you swap gifts instead of like. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know. We could probably do that. It'd be pretty cool.
Okay. How many people would be interested in? We can definitely ship the present to the other person. So how many people would be interested in doing Secret Santa? Um, Raise your hand or post in the chat. Okay. All right. That seems like a lot of people. So then we'll definitely have to do it now. Um, Thank you, everybody. We're definitely going to do this now. And I guess that's something that I'll be working on. So thank you for your input. If you have anything that you would like to share or any suggestions or anything, let me know. You don't know if you're gonna get Anshu. That's the first thing. Okay, anything else about this topic before we move on? Ooh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing. I'm definitely gonna look into that. Okay, awesome. So if there are no more comments about this, then I'll start working on this. And yeah, okay. So the next order of business is announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Yes, Daisy, I do. So everybody, don't forget to turn on your screen at the end of the meeting so we can take a photo. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Just
Yeah,
another
I have.
reminder for us. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Please, for the love of God, vote. I don't care who you vote for, just vote.
Agreed.
Yeah, and stay safe as well while you do that. Yeah, just another reminder for a short cabinet meeting right after this, right after we're done.
Okay, I got a message from Sampriti. Sampriti, did you have anything to say?
I had an idea, I wanted to present an idea regarding campus safety. Can I do it now? Do we have time?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll just make it really quick, okay? So as we know, we already get urgent official announcements via emails to alert us about armed robbery or vehicle hijacking and crimes similar to that. But there are many thefts which keep happening on our campuses and places we don't expect, the library, campus dining hall, recreation centers. So when a student usually enters the campus, they consider the campus to be, a lot more safer than outside and tend to be a little carefree. But things worth more than $1,000 and which also has your personal data get stolen on our campus. So they usually get to know about it either if they have experienced it or by word of mouth. So there's no proper system to notify the members of UIC about these kind of thefts. We can't really address the bigger problems such as the reasons behind why these kind of thefts keep happening and the after effects, that is make sure the police finds these things and this gets solved. So a simple solution that can work is sending messages to student community about when and where theft has happened so that they can be more aware while they are on campus and prevent losing their valuable items. Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And just also for some context, this is exactly some of the stuff that we're going to be working on through the police safety board. So it's very relevant to me as well because we'll be meeting about this, talking about campus communications. I had just to have a super quick point of inquiry. So from the Clery Act and from what I understand, the police at USC are required to send out these alerts about all the crimes that are occurring. Are these yeah.
Okay, usually they're reports made after these kind of thefts happen. So but they're not
they don't really they come out. Their students don't get to know about it. They just like report and they're like, do you want to take further action or not? And usually that's it. That's all how that happens. So I think if like just an email to notify what has happened, I think it'll make students more aware. And yeah.
Gotcha. So like an email to the campus body or like an alert to the campus body, that kind of, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Wasan, there's a difference between timely notice and a query report. So not all things that are in the query reportable category are considered to reach the threshold of a timely notice, which would be something that is a current threat to the community, which are the emails that you would receive.
Gotcha. Thank you for thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or questions on anything that Sampriti mentioned? Okay, so are there any other announcements? Quinn already said this, but please go vote. Please, if you haven't. It's important. We have the day off tomorrow, so we don't have school. So if you can, please, and be safe, because the political climate is not very calm right now. So stay safe. Okay. Any other announcements? All right. So if there are no announcements, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, there has been a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.